Welcome to this week's edition of the Seekonk Speedway Race Day Rewind, produced by Souza Media, where we recap all the weekend's racing as part of the 75th anniversary season of the Action Track of the East. The Seekonk Speedway podcast series is a production of Seekonk Speedway and Souza Media. For more information on Souza Media, visit kylesouza.com. And for more information on Seekonk Speedway, visit seekonkspeedway.com. Welcome back to the Seekonk Speedway Race Day Rewind podcast series, the edition from May 8th, 2021, NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series Night at the Races for Seekonk Speedway. First Saturday night under the lights of the 2021 season. We're going to recap all of the action, talk to a couple of the top finishers, and more over the course of the next 20 or 30 minutes. My name is Kyle Souza, the owner of Souza Media. Glad you could join us once again for the podcast series. This Saturday night, we opened round one of the Phil's Propane Triple Crown Series for the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks. Also a Pro Stock 40-lap feature. The late models, the Everett's Auto Parts late models in town for 30 laps, and the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman had their own 25-lap main event. Ready to go with the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start off with the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks and run you through exactly what went down as part of a full Saturday night of racing in round one of their Triple Crown Series. For those who don't know, the Phil's Propane Triple Crown Series is a three-race extra distance series. Now, this series accumulates its own point standings, and we crown a Phil's Propane champion at the end of every year. However, it also is a little bit of extra prestige for a driver to pick up a win or the championship. There's extra laps on the line in these Phil's Propane Triple Crown races, and the first one in the Sport Trucks was 35 laps, 10 extra laps compared to what normally runs as part of the Sport Truck season. Around the turn, it was Barry Shaw Jr. taking down his second straight win in very impressive fashion behind the wheel of the Everett's Auto Parts machine. Started way back somewhere around 10th and drove right up into the top five in the first 2 or 3 laps. Was very impressed with the speed under a brand new truck in 2021 for Barry Shaw. Picked up the win back on opening day in the Everett's Auto Parts number 85, and this time he was not going to be denied once again. Barry Shaw Jr. picks up the big win in round one of the Triple Crown. Now that locks him into the finale of the Triple Crown Series. We kind of run like a chase format here at Seekonk as part of the Triple Crown Series. That means the driver that won the first Triple Crown race and the second Triple Crown race is locked into the finale. And we've also got the drivers that accumulate the most points also locked in. There'll be 4 total drivers. So the winner of race 1, the winner of race 2, and then the 2 drivers with the most points will all be locked into that finale. And Barry Shaw Jr. has punched his ticket. Fast time in the feature of 14.515 for that new truck. One of the newer style chassis, and it is paying off for him. So Barry Shaw picks up the win. Richie Murray, the defending champion, 2 straight top 5s now, leads most of the race from the pole, settles for second. A nice solid run for him. Connor Souza makes a return to Seekonk Speedway. Great run for him in third behind the wheel of the number 38 machine. Third place for him. Rick Martin comes back from a tough race. Some damage, a flat tire in practice. Nice solid 4th place run from the rear of the field for him. And Mike Duarte returns to Chaz Auto Body Sport Truck Competition, a former champion, to round out the top 5. So Duarte 5th. Amy Arsenault, her second career race, and she finishes 6th. 2 top 6 finishes for Amy Arsenault to open the season. Lenny Guy was 7th. Bobby Bush Jr., 8th. Mike Cavallero, after a second place on opening day, he finishes 9th in week 2. And Ethan Heilborn rounds out the top 10. So a nice solid run for the Sport Trucks as part of their 35-lap Triple Crown opener. A couple of people that had some trouble. Brittany Campbell in the number 8 finished 12th after going around. And Rob Murphy returning to the Sport Trucks 15th on the grid. Only 5 laps, had to take the hook off the 3rd mile. Sport Trucks are back next week. Chaz Auto Body remains the sponsor for the whole season, and they are going to run a 25-lap feature next Saturday night. On to the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman Division, a 25-lap feature and a 27-car field showing up to the racetrack as part of the Saturday night. There's my alarm to let me know our next guest is going to be joining us shortly. That will be the 3rd place finisher in the Sportsman feature event. We'll talk about him in a minute. But 28 cars showed up, 1 dropped out, 2 dropped out. So there was 26 that took the grid for the race. 25 took the green flag after Billy Hutchin pulled off before the green unfurled. And in the end, after 25 laps, it was the pole sitter. Smokin' Joe smokes the field was the headline of the post-race recap story. Smokin' Joe picks up the win in the 25-lap feature from pole position. A 20-minute race, green to checker, not quite, but almost. And Joe Kohler picks up the win. Ed Perry, a great run for Ed Perry, finishing second in the number 1. And third place was Chris Gomes. Steve Axon, a former champion, finished in the 4th position. And that's his second straight top 5 to open the season, as well as Chad Baxter, who won on opening day. Baxter 5th in the second week of the season. So Axon and Baxter and Joe Kohler seem to be the top 3 candidates in the Helger South Coast Sportsman division so far this season. All 3 of them have opened the season with top 5 finishes. So that's going to be something to watch as we get closer towards the middle of the season to see if they're able to maintain that, even coming up this next Saturday night. Kohler finished second on opening day and won in week 2 behind the wheel of the 43. Baxter won on opening day, finished 5th in the second race of the season behind the wheel of that Richard Sprague prepared number 0. And Steve Axon, a 5th on opening day and a 4th in week 2. So solid runs for those guys to get the season going. Shout out to Ed Perry, a great second place run for him behind the wheel of the number 1. And then the next driver that's going to join us as part of the Race Day Rewind series, Chris Gomes, a nice solid third place one for the Route 6 Auto Mall Kia number 10 of Chris Gomes. Great run for him, nice solid finish behind the wheel of the number 10. He finished 3rd in the feature, and he is going to run us through a little bit of what the race, how it played out, how things went for him behind the wheel, but also going to run us through how he started in the spectator drags before moving up to the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman division. And we're going to hear all of that from him and more coming up right around the break. Stick with us on the Race Day Rewind. Chris Gomes coming up right around the turn. Welcome back from the break on the Seekonk Speedway Race Day Rewind. Mentioned before the break we would be talking with Chris Gomes, who picked up a nice solid podium finish in last Saturday's 25-lap Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman main event. He has joined us here on the hotline. And, man, I'll tell you, Chris, a strong run for you guys last week. But this dates back many, many years before you get to the Sportsman ranks with us at Seekonk. You actually started in the spectator drags. What's that been like to jump from that into a Sportsman and kind of get your feet wet and now be at the point where you're able to run up in the front there consistently in the podium with a couple more cautions there or another caution, maybe have a good shot at winning the race on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long road, I guess you could say, to, coming from the spectator drags. I did that for probably close to 20 years. I started that when I was about 18 years old. And, always wanted to get into a weekly division, but timing just never worked out. I got married, bought a house, had some kids, and then now the kids are old enough that they don't need constant attention, and I can put a little more time into the race car.
Yeah, and you've jumped on all of a sudden here and been quite the spectacle to watch the first couple weeks. Really strong in the heat race Saturday, really ran well in the race. What's the difference been over the winter? I heard you kind of joke with Ed Perry and Victor Lane that you get that car off him for how much? 500, 800? It was one of those two numbers I keep forgetting, but is that the true story there? Did you kind of buy that and put that car together?
So the story is Eddie Perry bought this car. It was an old Thompson limited late model metric car. He bought it, and he was going to put it together and run it at Seekonk in the street stock. And then he came across what was Mike Mitchell's old car. That's what he's running now. So he put this thing to the back burner, sat out in the yard, rusted, motor seized. I kept driving by it, and it had a brand new Lee Hayes body on it, which was kind of the allure to me, the Camaro body. So. Right. One day he only lives 3-4 houses down from me. So one day I stopped and said, "Hey, what are you going to do with that thing?" And he says, "Get that thing out of my hair. Give me $800.
Holy moly. So, wow.
That's an $800 car.
So what a steal. So you grab that, get it together, and holy crap, it's really turned out well for you here at the start, no?
Yeah, I got to rib Ed all the time and say, hey, you're getting beat by that junk that was in your backyard.
See? Yeah, there you go.
But well, he got the best of me this week. But there was a little extra money on the line for third, so
Yeah,
I
so
don't know how
that it
hard I
worked
tried to
out.
get by him.
Hey, it works out when there's a little bit of extra bonus money on the line. You want to finish in the position where the bonus money's coming from. That's fair. So a good, solid third place run though. Overall, you got to be thrilled with the speed you guys have had here to get going this year, and excited with your potential here going forward. We were talking before we started the recording here, that potential to chase your first win, which I really don't feel like is too far around the corner for you.
Yeah, I hope not. I definitely think we got a car that can do it. You know, and it's the main thing is to keep the wheels on the thing every week, and you get somebody that runs you down or something like that. You just, I mean, my philosophy is I'm going to back out. I'm gonna save my car. I'm not going to wreck it.
Right.
So and just work and get around them. Don't wreck the car. Every week you can make it better if you're not fixing it.
Yeah, and I mean, with a solid top 3 finish this week, also putting yourself in a decent position as far as the point standings go with the solid finishes. Looking forward towards the end of the year, which seems far away, but it's usually not. And speaking of the end of the year, in the next couple weeks here, you're going to be, I think your anxiety level is going to probably triple on a race night with your son going out there in a Bandolero. We've seen him on iRacing compete with us before. He's been good on there, got his kind of feet wet here in the Bandolero. What are you kind of looking at for a stress level there? That's going to be exciting to be with him and watch that happen, but also a little bit more stressful than it probably is even driving, right?
Yeah, so I mean, last week was his first practice, and it's definitely nerve-wracking to see a kid go around the track, and something that you would you get a little loose yourself, and you don't even think twice about it, but you see him get a wiggle or get sideways, and man, you get the butterflies. Like, it's unbelievable. But he managed to wreck it his first time out. Yeah. So we're fixing that this week instead of fixing mine. Thank God.
Yeah. So yours is going to sit on the back burner this week, and then head towards next Saturday night as we get ready for round 1 of the Phil's Propane Triple Crown Series for your division this coming week. Chris, I know there's some sponsors, some supporters that are all over that freshly painted wrap, nice looking number 10. You might want to give a shout out to here that have been helping you to get to this point.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of years ago, Route 6 Auto Mall, they came on board. I was a rookie. I don't know if it was my first. It was my second full year, I guess, or my first full year. And he took a chance, put his name on the car. He's helped me out. That's the big one. That keeps this thing going. Also, this year I got Peter Andrews, Family Construction, who came aboard. He's helped me out tremendously. He's actually on a couple other cars out there now. Also, he's on the Bandolero, and he's on Mark Healy, who's another spectator drag guy. He's on his Sportsman. He's just getting rolling. And Johnson's Racing Engines keeps this thing tip top as far as power goes.
Well, I mean, there's definitely a sharp paint scheme on that car for this year. A little bit different look, but it's been sharp. And it's been quick over the first couple of weeks of the season. Nice solid third place run for you, Chris. Congratulations. Hope to be talking to you soon as a feature winner. I don't think that's too far around the corner here. And we look forward to seeing you again this coming Saturday night.
All right. Thank you for having me.
All right. That's been Chris Gomes. Again, the Sportsman getting set for their Phil's Propane Triple Crown Series Round 1 this coming Saturday night. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive into the other couple of features from Saturday night. Later on, we'll hear from Pro Stock winner Tom Scully Jr. Stick with us. Welcome back from the break. Nice to hear from Chris Gomes and talk about a little bit of his history at the racetrack, what he's looking forward to over the next couple weeks, and some excitement over a nice podium run in the Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman division. So we've recapped the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks and the Helger's South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman. That was a mouthful for some reason. Let's move on to the other two features from Saturday night. First up, the Everett's Auto Parts late model main event, and Tommy the Bomb Adams picks up the victory behind the wheel of the number 56. Now, everybody knows back on opening day, Vinny Renegato and Tom Scully Jr. raced for the lead on the final lap. Tommy got sideways coming off turn 2. There was contact halfway down the back straightaway. Tommy ended up spinning. Vinny comes around to pick up the win. Really just a typical Saturday night short track racing deal. But Tommy came out on the back stick of it. I mean, he did not have a good run opening day after leading 29 of 30 laps. However, This past Saturday night, a completely different story. He jumps out from the outside pole, picks up the lead right from the drop of the green flag, and never looked back over the course of the 30-lap distance. Picks up the win by 1.2 seconds over Charlie Rose in the number 91, the Simpsons Auto Care entry. A strong run for Charlie Rose as well. And that's a car that he built himself over the last couple of years, kind of debuting it here in a full-time basis in 2021. He picked up a win up at the Star Speedway a couple of weeks ago in that number 91. A nice solid second place run this past Saturday night. He also finished here on opening day with not the best finish for him, but a solid top 5 finish on opening day, a 5th place run. Obviously wants to run better, but he's getting better. A 2nd place finish as part of round 2. I believe Charlie finished 6th opening day, not 5th. But still, 6th and a 2nd in the first 2 weeks. Vinny Renegado was 3rd on Saturday night after picking up the big win opening day. Drove from the back of the field. A nice solid 3rd place effort for the driver in that number 17. 1st and a 3rd, and the championship lead after 2 weeks for him in his quest for his first title. Josh Hedges finished 4th. 2nd straight week for Josh in the 4th position. Former Sport Truck champion behind the wheel of the Chuck Run Auto Parts Hedges Excavating number 29, and a nice solid run in 4th place for him on Saturday night. Nice run there for him. And Chase Belcher, who started on the pole in the Everett's Auto Parts machine, was able to finish in the 5th spot. Nice top 5 finish for him as he looks to build some consistency into his 2021 season. Bob Tripp was 6th. 7th, Jerry DeGasperi Jr., Jeremy Lilly, Ryan Flood, and Mark Hudson completed the top 10. Tough luck for Mike Duarte. Something went wrong in the motor after the heat. He was not able to take the green in the feature. But after 2 weeks, Tommy Adams and Vinny Renegado showing that they are the big winners. And those two guys, I believe, are going to be the biggest threats for the championship in this division going forward. Hedges, 2 4th place finishes for him. He's going to be one to watch in the points for sure this year. Charlie Rose, we mentioned. Chase Belcher, tough run in week 1. Nice solid run in week 2. And Jerry DeGasperi's got 2 top 7 finishes to open his quest for an 8th championship. So this Everett's Auto Parts late model division shaping up to be a good one as we get through the course of the 2021 season. So there you have the late model main event, a nice solid field of 17 cars taking the green flag. And there's the alarm again to tell me our second guest is coming around the turn. That is going to be the winner of the 40-lap Pro Stock main event on Saturday night. A thrilling battle over the final 10 laps of the Pro Stock feature. Was really, really happy to see the Pro Stock division back at Seekonk Speedway on Saturday night. 40 laps, 2nd week in a row that they're back in action for the 2021 season. And we're sitting here on the podcast, and my landline house phone is ringing. You're probably hearing that in the background. That's okay. I don't know why I still have a landline. If you have one, I suggest that you disconnect it. Anyway, 40 laps for the Pro Stocks on Saturday night. And it is Tom Scully Jr. taking the number 2, the Helger South Coast Power Equipment machine, right back to Everett's Auto Parts victory lane. First time since 2017 that we see this former champion at the head of the class. Now, it was not him at the head of the class for a majority of the distance on Saturday night. Ryan Lineham got a front row starting spot. Jumped out front right from the drop of the green flag, and Ryan was able to lead the first 34 laps of the race behind the wheel of the Richard Sprague prepared number 10. Now that is a big feat for him, jumping into the Pro Stocks full-time again this year with a different car owner, kind of a newer style environment for them after many years of success of the late models. And look at what he was able to do. Jump right out there in the main event, lead 34 laps, and come up just short, just short, of Tom Scully Jr. in the 40-lap feature. 3rd place for Lineham. He was able to battle Scully side by side on a couple of late race restarts. Backed up a little bit there in the final restart, but a nice solid podium 3rd place run for Ryan Lineham. In the middle of Scully and Lineham was Dylan Estrella, multiple-time winner last year. Found some speed there over the off week, running on opening day, finishing, I believe it was 5th back on opening day in the Everett's Auto Parts number 46, confirming it was actually 4th. So Estrella 4th on opening day. This week, a quiet race early, charges right up through there at the end after a solid run and able to come home in the number 2 spot. So Scully wins, Estrella 2nd, Lineham was 3rd. Dave Darling, the Dynamite 1, always there at the end, top 5 finish for him in 4th, I believe on some used rubber, so he was able to jump up through the field there and have a nice solid top 5 run. I believe based on my rough calculation off the top of my head, that he is not going to be the points leader. And I have to check that. That's been the first time in a long time that Dave Darling is not listed as the points leader. He's fourth place on opening day. Actually, he won on opening day, finished fourth in week 2. So a nice solid week 2 run for him. And Ryan Vaness was fifth behind the wheel of the Ocean State Oil number 11. So Ryan, a nice solid top 5 run. They were able to rebound after a tough opening day behind the wheel of their number 11 machine. Nice solid top 5 finish to get week 2 underway for the Rockets. So Scully wins, Estrella second, Lynham third, Dave Darling, and Ryan Vaness, the top 5. Ryan Kuhn was 6th in the Everett's Auto Parts machine. Radical Rick Martin 7th. Freddie Estelle finished in 8th on Saturday night. Kenny Spencer was 9th, and Daryl Stampfel rounded out the top 10. Tough break for Colby Fournier. 2 finishes outside the top 10 in his return to the Pro Stocks. I know they'll be getting that car steered back in the right direction here before long. And so did Mike Brightman have a tough night, 16th in the number 27 machine on Saturday night. All right, we're going to take a quick break on the Race Day Rewind Report. When we come back, we will hear from Tom Scully Jr., the winner of the 40-lap Pro Stock main event. All right, welcome back from the break. As I mentioned before, we took a couple seconds off there. We are going to welcome in Tom Scully Jr., who picked up the Pro Stock win on Saturday night in the 40-lap main event. Tell you, when I looked at the starting lineup and saw him starting in the 3rd position with the speed they've had in the first couple weeks, I knew it was going to be tough for somebody to beat that deuce on Saturday night. Ryan Lynham gave him a great run. Dylan Estrella was right there with him at the end. And, of course, Dave Darling up in the top 5 as well over the last couple of laps. But Tom Scully Jr. joins us. Tom, we were just talking. We think it's been since 2017 since you went to Victory Lane. You won the title 2016. So it's been a while since you've been able to kind of relish in this success. It's got to feel good to get back to this point and celebrate here as we talk on a Monday. You're still feeling pretty good after a win on Saturday night.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me, Kyle. Yeah, it's been a while, it feels like. I'm not getting any younger, so glad we got that in.
Yeah, I mean, so the time goes by here over the couple of years. Of course, we didn't race last year because of the pandemic, but we were talking, a newer car for you guys. What's been the spark? Has that kind of been it? I noticed that Brian is kind of still with you guys as the crew chief. We know that he's very smart in what he does, but what's kind of clicking here in the first couple weeks for you guys to have this much speed?
Well, I mean, we gave the car to Jeff. He gave us a good setup. When we came back, we had to really go through it a little bit and just make sure everything was right. And that's a big contribute to Brian, my crew chief. And that really helps doing the shop stuff. I mean, there were so many little things that we kept finding, and before we got to the track, that's why we missed really the first couple open practices.
Yeah.
We just wanted to make it right, and luckily we rolled off the trailer, and it's been really not a struggle to get the car to handle. It's just now it's more fine tuning, which anybody would want.
Yeah, and I mean, you're fine-tuning. We talked on the track after the race Saturday night. Seems like you guys still need to fine-tune the beginning of a run a little bit, but you were able to kind of run Ryan down, pass him there for the lead. You guys had a good battle for a couple laps. And then those last couple restarts, they must have been pretty stressful behind the wheel, because watching it, it was pretty evident that for 4 or 5 laps you were struggling and you had to kind of hold those guys back, especially with only a 4 or 5 lap run there at the end. That must have been a tick nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I didn't really know what kind of restart car we had until we got that one late there. I mean, the car it felt great. It just never really changed during the long runs. I was kind of bummed out when we got the yellow, but I thought we were still fast by running down the leader and passing them. And the late restarts, it was really kind of, I just had to get the right timing on the restart and not give up too much with the edge of the guy on the outside of me. It was kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously it worked out well for you, getting back to Everett's Auto Parts Victory Lane. I mean, you're one of those guys, I think, that looks week to week, but you've been through the championship battles. You've been through battles with Dave Darling, Freddie Estelle. Those guys are still in the division. Freddie's kind of fallen off his superior level over the last couple of years. David's obviously been superior. But are you thinking championship? Have you thought ahead and kind of thought about what it might be like here as we get into the summer to kind of go back in championship mindset?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, right now, yeah. I mean, we had a first couple weeks. I mean, we never really change that goal when we go to the racetrack. We kind of just always go for top 5s. That really helps points. And we've been kind of discouraged a little bit here the last few years. It just seems like whatever we did to the old car we had, it just wasn't making it fast and keep up, and couldn't fill holes, and it was just getting frustrating. I mean, David. He's always been the top guy to beat. And Fred, he'll be back on his game pretty soon. I think it's just a matter of time. I think it's just the way the cards are playing out with him. It's been fun so far.
Yeah, I mean, the first couple weeks have gone really well for you. I know there's some sponsors on that car. I know Rich Helger from Helger South Coast Power Equipment was really happy to see you guys back at the front, too. Who else is kind of jumping on board with you? And him as well, for kind of giving you guys what you need to be able to come to the track every week prepared.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Helger South Coast Power Equipment, that's great to have him on the car, on the hood. We got Woodruff Brothers on the rear quarters, Simpson Auto Care. We got Distance Racing Chassis. It always helps anytime we need it. Nats Racing Engines. We got 32 Signs. He came up with the design for the car this year to make it a little different. Like my dad, he's pretty much the funder of the car. And I know some other people I got to thank. Just everyone knows if I didn't say them, I'm sorry, and we'll get you next time, I guess.
Yeah, Tom, I think we're going to be back in Victory Lane here more than just once. I'm sure we'll be talking to Tom over the course of the year. Now, of course, Tom, how much of this year is going to be pushed for your mom as well? I know over the last couple of years you guys have struggled, but her passing a couple of years ago, you guys won that title. That was huge. But do you think about that when you're at the track? Is that something that kind of pushes you forward and gives you a little bit of extra drive to go out there and try to win in her honor?
Oh, absolutely, because I know that's what my mom would tell me. She was like, I need you to win. I need you to get you up front there. I know the excitement it brought her, and when I'm on the track, that's basically my main goal, is just to win the race and drive clean and just put a good show on for my guys that, they put the time in, and I like to show them that, it appreciates on their half.
Yeah, definitely. And you've been strong over the first couple weeks. Tom, we want to thank you for a few minutes here for the podcast series. Wish you the best of luck the rest of the season, and look forward to seeing you get back up front more often and see you back in Victory Lane here, I'm sure, in the next couple weeks.
I appreciate the time, and I appreciate that, bud. And we'll see you soon, hopefully.
All right, that's been Tom Scully Jr. When we come back, we are going to recap nothing else from last Saturday because we've covered it all. We're going to look ahead to next Saturday night, round 1 of the Phil's Propane Series for the Sportsman division coming up. Stick with us around the break. All right, welcome back from the break. Nice to hear from Tom Scully Jr. A nice solid victory for him on Saturday night in the Pro Stocks behind the wheel of the Helger South Coast Power Equipment number 2. Nice to see him back in Everett Auto Parts Victory Lane after a couple of year hiatus for the former champion. Before we talk about next Saturday night, do want to mention that our Thrill Show tickets went on sale on Monday, May 10th. That's for the Memorial Day Thrill Show. As of this podcast recording, they are still available. However, only at 25% capacity. Check out seekonktickets.net, SEEKONK tickets.net, seekonktickets.net. They might be sold out already by the time you listen to this, but if not, grab them quickly because they are going to sell out over the course of the next couple of days, like I said, if they haven't already. Also want to mention, last Friday night, May the 7th, we had a Fast Friday practice session. Those drivers getting ready for their 2021 season, which begins on Friday, May 28th. That's just before the Memorial Day Thrill Show. Go to Race Monitor. If you don't have Race Monitor, you can check out racemonitor.com. Focus on Seekonk Speedway in the search bar. You can take a look at who was fastest in the Fast Friday practice session. Good count of cars, a new tire in the Pure Stocks, and a bunch of other stuff going on Fast Friday. We'll check all that out next week and the week after as part of our Fast Friday preview series podcasts and write-ups for the 2021 season. Now, want to talk about next Saturday night coming up. Saturday night, May the 15th, Seekonk Speedway returns to NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series action. Come out to the track and join us. The Helger South Coast Power Equipment Sportsman open their Phil's Propane Series with a 35-lap extra distance feature. The Pro Stocks are back on hand for 40 laps. The Everett Auto Parts late models for 30, and the Chaz Auto Body Sport Trucks back on track for 25 laps around the 3rd mile. For Chris Gomes and Tom Scully Jr., thanks for joining us. We hope to see you this Saturday night where tickets are already available at seekonktickets.net. A little bit of a jump in capacity. We're up from 12 to 25% this week. However, still encouraging you to purchase those tickets ahead, just in case they sell out. We don't want you to be out of the grandstands and not able to make it in to watch your favorite stars and cars compete at the third mile. Thanks to our guests for joining us, all of our track sponsors, and everybody else that makes the Race Day Rewind podcast happen. My name is Kyle Souza from Souza Media. Talk to everybody soon, and we'll talk to you next week on the Race Day Rewind Report.